Hey guys, this is Andrei, a certified translator and a real estate concierge. Over the last 3 years, my company has been relocating people to Belarus, and we're continuing this business. And this is a release, sort of monthly digest of the local and global headlines, the way I see them. It's not really a media release over here, just a blogger, just a personal opinion. So the thing is to discuss the recent happenings, global and local, for your understanding of how it looks from here. As always, I would like to thank you very much, those who are supporting the channel with their likes, with their feedback, with their $5 or $10 or $20. It's always very handy to upkeep the channel, to keep the thing going, and to get some more metal for a better sound, better picture, hopefully. And of course your questions, not the technical questions that make the matter of a paid consultancy, but general ones, perhaps everyday life questions that are perfectly coverable in one of these videos. They're most welcome. 3 years ago, I relocated my first clients. Now my clients have grown up, so to speak, and you know about my Dutch neighbor. He is selling his village house now. The buyer is coming in about 1 week from now, and we'll film a release. We'll film a video about how it worked, how the guy got relocated with his charming new property. Otherwise, people that grow up go for procedures on their own and sometimes overlook little wrinkles like buying a car but forgetting to pass the technical examination, fixing their residency permit with the same papers like before. There's nothing too complicated there, but missing one more crucial thing to extend, to upgrade, to update. And that keeps me in the job, so to speak. I would rather cut this bureaucracy and get it all online and digital and take out the human factor, but that's exactly what's keeping me in the business, on top of knowing how the kitchen works. Let me give you an example of let's say, routine half-a-day calendar of a real estate concierge. This way you would understand the mechanics of it better. This way you will see how you may benefit from cooperating with me and see how I can play some role in relocating you to your new country of residence, be that a temporary or permanent residency. Don't rush to skip this section, because with every position on my calendar you might get a piece of wisdom that you may then consider in your own moves about life over here. The other day at 9 o'clock I had to let in the electrician to see the apartment that the new tenants have booked for their 1-year residency. We're mostly renting out to the Chinese. Well, that's going the way it's going. So the electrician examined the flat to find that some breakers are to be replaced and some switches are rather to be fixed. It's our family electrician, so it's not the guy who you question about each and everything he's suggesting. So 1 hour later I had to let in the cleaners, because tenants are picky these days, and when you expect them to hand over back a clean flat, you should make sure the place is clean and accepted as clean by them in the first line. It's a bit hard, especially with the Chinese, and it takes me some effort to convince my client, to prove it to my client that things written down in the contract are not necessarily exercisable in the real life. So it's all a careful balance of keeping a substantial deposit, filtering the tenants and people you're dealing with in this respect, and occasional checks on the property to make sure it's still in one piece while you are looking for the next year's tenants. Around 11, 2 things at a time had to happen. One of the clients had to collect his temporary residency and apply for a visa, and that's happening in one of the most rigid offices in central Minsk in the same building. The other client was extending his car registration, which fits the temporary residency time frame. So once you've got your residency, if you're driving a local car, your certificate of registration of the car is valid for the same time frame. So one of the clients actually had it expired by half a year, and with my assistance we got it done. There is a little trick about the car registration. As you are going to get yourself a ticket, now they really are asking for your 7 digits from your passport number to get a ticket to the traffic cops. And it's a bit problematic, because Germans, for instance, have 3 or 4 digits in their passport alone. So how it works with them, it's a circus. But it's doable. As we were doing the renewal of the papers for the car for a local client, I actually misplaced a payment in his name, and it's a bit of a bugger because you have to get to the tax office to get it returned to somebody's card account, and if it's my payment in his name, that's his application and his card it has to go back to. So it's a little bit funny. As it happens, it's not the worst case of the day. I had a quick check with the notary office about foreigners selling their flat. A citizen of Iraq has his wife with a power of attorney, both Iraqi, interested to sell his place in the city center. The question is, how do they handle it, and can they authorize a power of attorney abroad, apostilled, translated here? Can it work for their flat to be sold by someone else on their behalf? The notary office actually told me, no, it can't be done, and it has to be a local power of attorney from here. But upon some digging, and there are several sources that have to be involved when you are digging for this kind of information, it turned out that the power of attorney can be actually foreign if it's a foreigner who's selling his flat. Because of 2020 political events, a lot of people left Belarus, and many of them were selling their properties on local power of attorney, on a foreign power of attorney, but still it was working until a certain decree by our beloved president, which now disallows locals, Belarusian citizens, to sell their properties remotely unless the power of attorney was issued here in Belarus. So they have to specifically come back and get the job done, while the foreign owners don't have to go through that. So based on the wrong information, bad information from the notary office, I gave a wrong brief to my client, and then he double-checked and discovered that this was not quite right. So that was my little fault, let's say, and it's best to avoid such things in future, but they happen. So you have to dig, and you have to be, let's say, very thorough in the information you're providing. And around lunchtime, I took my client to his new water office to get a new contract. That's the district called Novaya Borovaya, the IT living area. And he's quite happy about our January acquisition, charming one-room flat on the 8th floor out there. That's approximately half of a day of a real estate concierge, omitting some matters that cannot be videotaped. And let's say omitting the calendar chaos where one of these things happening last happened first and the other way around. And omitting a little chaos with a client's application, last day to apply for the residency to be extended. He discovers that he has 2 fines that had to be paid long ago, and they are in the repossession department, which is pretty bad. So the officers wouldn't take the papers unless these things are paid on the spot, and you just can't pay them on the spot. It doesn't happen like this. Obviously we got it fixed, but such things are best to track in advance and to be prevented. Let's talk about the local goings-on. One of the most, let's say, brain-breaking news articles of the last week was the release by the Emergency Ministry about the Gomel region being ready for the military mode. I know there's a special term, but let's call it military mode, in case things go too bad. So some of my clients were asking, Andrei, what's happening? Is it like Belarus is going into war or something? My ruling on this, my conclusion will be quite matter of fact, quite, let's say, of an everyday man without having too many inside sources. Otherwise this blog wouldn't exist, I guess. Firefighter commenting on this kind of thing is something totally unrelated. It's like me commenting on financial markets of tomorrow and stuff like that, or saying which way sanctions are going to go. It's just totally irrelevant a department to comment on any military-related things. That's as simple as that. Just take it as media noise. That's it. The Polish were debating about opening up Bobrovniki checkpoint. Apparently it's not going to happen, even though their logistics people are pressing. And Lithuanians are introducing counter bans against our bans, and so everyday people who are lining up to drive into Lithuania can no longer bring in drinks, beverages of all kinds, tobacco products, vegetable, meat, and God knows what other products. So there are stacks of these things confiscated from people, including some baby snacks at the border control, and apparently the driving checkpoints are no fun. There's just one left, essentially, if I recall it right. The 3rd of June is the last day to pay personal taxes, income tax by a natural person. If you've been here for 183 days, you must file, in theory, of course, you must file a tax declaration about your incomes, foreign or local, and with a professional accountant it has to be balanced the way you don't have to pay here anything. I have some Americans actually avoiding double taxation with the help of a professional accountant. So our company can help you if you're interested in that. By the 31st of March, you have to file your declaration. And by the 31st of May, if I recall it right, you have to get it paid. This year it was 3rd of June. Belarus is fairly famous for its relatively safe streets, and when people are asking how safe Belarus is right now, we're all saying that, meaning expats, people who traveled here lately, that it's safer than most European cities. Now that the children are out and about, their police are accenting the need to keep an eye on those under 16 out of the streets after 23 o'clock. And failure to do that brings about a fine to their parents or guardians because, well, that takes them out of that dangerous way. Just a little local fact. You might recall a story about my client shopping for a $100,000 Stalin flat. We succeeded somewhere around February or March or something. And of course he left, leaving behind some guys he hired to get the job done, the renovation, and it wasn't me. So his trusted guys, handpicked, recommended and everything, bulldozed away whatever had to be cleaned up to allow the fully designed renovation thing. And that was done without an approval of the local council. The neighbors raised alarms. Of course, that kind of neighbors will reach the devil with their alarm bells. And he's not having fun right now. It's not to say that I'm, capable of doing a renovation and stuff, but it's about a concierge staying behind on your power of attorney, capable to fix any things that can go wrong, or let's say to make sure an assignment that you put in place has been fulfilled, the money has been paid and the work has been accepted all right. So now that he got back to me saying, Andrei, I have this thing going on, what can I do? I said, well, you should have left a power of attorney to these guys, allowing them to transfer some functions to me, so that I could at least officially be looking into that matter. Right now I'm a nobody to this project, and probably it's to my benefit that I don't have to look into this mess that happened. So the conclusion is simple. If you want to do something scaled, if you're buying a property that you wish to upgrade, better do it by the book, because handling matters like complaints to a local council are no joke, especially when you are 2,000 kilometers away. One more $100,000 story is coming to an end, hopefully. My EU client is selling his flat and is cancelling his permanent residency. That's just work requirements caused by 2020 events on top of other things, sanctions and everything. He had to choose between the degrading West and flourishing, charming, safe Belarus. Peace-loving, I forgot. So we're selling his property finally. Well, my estimation was that the fork of demand for his flat would be around 105,000. We hit the bottom line of that, but it's still selling his place for a profit. Firstly, it was reviewed earlier on my channel, so I'll leave a link down below for you to understand what kind of money buys you what kind of property. And the point is that it was done skillfully, effectively. We probed the market very carefully, and I'm pretty certain that an agency would have ended up doing just the same kind of sale with probably more charged for promotion and for their job done. As it is, with some English command, being official translator, I'm still pulling this job. The guy will be arriving in a week, and we will handle the deal directly when he's on the ground. I'll just do the preparations and get it done. Some of you are looking to relocate to Belarus. By now you are probably aware that you will be paying higher utility bills, utility fees than the locals, especially for heating and heating up the water. So that's something you have to keep in mind, along with the fact that every year, every 6 months actually, the prices are going up by roughly $5, and in a couple of years they will just level with what the locals are paying. So you won't have to look for a way to get your utilities subsidized. It's a bit painful during the heating season, depending on how big your place is. So you have to keep that in mind before you buy something. But long term, that difference is going to be leveled. So from June the 1st, the rates will go up again, and I guess they're still keeping to $5 limit when they up these tariffs. It's really hard to tell what we're paying for electricity, water, because all these things are differentiated. Day and night tariff, I'm not sure if there's a difference between city and village, but it's definitely complicated, and it's particularly confusing when the bureaucrats are confirming like how much the state is subsidizing or how much the taxpayers are actually paying directly. The key point is it's going to go very soon, and it's going to be 100% very soon. Last but not least, many of you who have been to Minsk remember it as a city of green, a city that's quite clean, and it's quite unusual for the city to have any, let's say, smell, dust, and etc. problems, environment-related problems. Lately, people reported some odd smell coming from somewhere in the south of the city, and sometimes even in the city center. It looked like somebody got their, let's say, bathroom unclean for a while, to put it mildly. It wasn't really an unbearable stench or something, but authorities confirmed that they're going to upgrade the sewage water, wastewater treatment fields, which are located in the south, soon, and they'll be more cutting edge, they'll be more environment friendly and more human friendly. Conclusion is, before you buy a property, check where the wind is blowing, check what is located in the south, in the southwest. And although it took me some pains to convince my American to not relocate to Southwest, where his wife had her job in 3 years' time. 3 years is while she's on the maternity leave. He is now happily living in the east of the city, green, quiet, nice area, and that's what I would recommend to you guys if you were shopping in Minsk. Pick a professional, pick an experienced person, double check what they say, that's the best way to go, and relocate to Minsk. Shop wisely, travel responsibly, live happily. It was Andrei from Minsk, and I'm hoping to see you here at some point. Cheers.